I think that the rollout for this album was the greatest rollout of all time for an album.
Really?
I think it was better than Get Rich or Die Trying and College Dropout.
Well, why is that?
Because it was his last album. It was emotional. Like, it had an emotional tie. We thought this was it. Like, literally, he was going places, and like he was getting a retirement tour, like how Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did when he retired, or like Kobe did when he retired. Like, the way he was getting treated was like how like athletes get treated when they retire from their respective sport.
Welcome to Rap in Order, the interrogation of a hip-hop album, where we take some of the culture's most beloved hip-hop albums, put them on the stand, see if they stood the test of time. Now let's see who we got on the stand today.
These are their stories.
Welcome to another episode of Rap in Order. I'm First Class Regg.
Ho! It's Taurian B.
I see this 2003 energy right now that you got going. I see that. The chain, the hat, this is a whole fit. This is a whole fit. So in case you can't tell where we're going with this, we're doing a Hove album. Yes. Not just any old Hove album, though. This was supposed to be his last studio album. This was his departure. This was his Jersey in the Rafters. This was the end all be all for Hove, or what's supposed to be. And I'm talking about the Black Album. It was released in 2003. This album was heavily marketed as Jay-Z's last album. He was going to hang it up for good. He kind of teased that with every album up until this point. He was saying this would be his last album. This would be his last album. And so people admittedly, they didn't believe him. They didn't believe him when the marketing came around for this album. But then he started doing interviews. He kind of was doubling down. And leading up to this, the Fade to Black documentary rather came out to support this album. And then it felt more real. What can you remember about this time frame that as a whole fan back then, how did you feel going into this album? And did you really feel like this would be his last album?
I genuinely did feel like this would be his last album. I'm kind of, as you guys probably know, I am like a Jay-Z fanatic. So I knew for a long time that his goal was to move into the executive room, and I just believed, like, in the way things were going in music, he wanted to be a businessman. I thought, I felt like that was like a real thing, and I felt like, okay, like, there's these new crop of artists coming around, and mind you, like, we didn't have a lot of rappers that were like having flourishing careers after the age of 40. So I believed him when he said that. Mind you, I was 17, so who was I to question that man? But I just believed that he would, because I just was like, all right, he got this new artist, Kanye West, coming out. And Kanye wasn't Kanye at that time yet, but he had Kanye West. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew that Rockefeller was breaking up, and like we didn't know what that would look like yet, right? Because they didn't do the official breakup. But like, I'm like, all right, well, Rockefeller Records is still a thing. Beanie Siegel, Memphis Bleak. Like, I just thought like he really was going to try to prop up artists that were signed to the label. I really believed it. And I was excited because like I heard like what was going into making the album. I don't know if you remember this, but before it was a promo sticker that they were giving out, and it had the album track list with all of the producers for each track.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was like a wish list, and it was like the most amazing track list of producers I've ever seen in my life. And if I'm not mistaken, you want me, I can name them.
Yeah.
Got my notes. So it was supposed to be the Neptunes, Just Blaze. No, I'm sorry. So let's see. Okay, here we go. The Just Blaze, Kanye West, the Neptunes, Timbaland, Rick Rubin, DJ Quick, Eminem, Ninth Wonder, W. Ken. Damn it.
The Buchanans.
But that was who was on there. No, his wish list. Okay. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So this was his wish list. The Neptunes, Just Blaze, Dr. Dre, DJ Premier, Rick Rubin, Swiss Beats, Kanye West, Trackmasters, Eminem, DJ Quick, Ski, and Timbaland. We didn't get Dr. Dre because they, schedule conflicts. Swiss Beats, scheduling conflict. We didn't get Trackmasters just because I don't know. I never got that answer. DJ Premier, they said that Jay-Z had like an idea of what he wanted the track to sound like, and Primo gave him back something completely different, and then that's how Ninth Wonder was able to get on the track. And Ski, we didn't know, and like Ski was somebody that he worked with early on,
Yeah.
From like when Dame had original flavor and everything like that. But I was excited when I saw that original track list because I thought, like in my mind, I'm like, how is this not going to be the greatest rap album to ever be made?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you miss? And I was just like really ecstatic for it, and I was just like, yo, what is this going to look like? Oh my God, I got to get to New York and go to these Madison Square Garden shows. Like, but he came to Atlanta. Like I got lucky because I thought like he was doing those shows and that was it. And then he did the Jay-Z and Friends tour after he beat, Tata sprayed R. Kelly with the pepper spray.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that this album was just, no one could tell me that this album was going to be the greatest album of all time. In my head, I thought that this album was going to top Reasonable Doubt. I thought that this album was just going to be the best thing ever. Like, genuinely, I thought like if aliens came down and asked us to present them the best music ever, we were going to have to give them the Black Album.
This is what
I was 17 years old. I'm just telling you, I was 17.
So a lot of what you said like rings true for me too. Like, I mean, I was in Detroit in this time frame, and I think at this time they premiered "What More Can I Say" first on the album, in Detroit. They played that
everywhere
on the radio.
That was the first time.
Okay, so they played that on the radio, and I was like, oh my God, like the way he ended that off with the acapella, I was sold. I was like, yo, this shit is gonna be crazy.
Mind you, when that was given the radio, the Gladiator samples were not cleared.
Oh,
so that was a big thing.
Okay. So it was a big deal like leading up to this, because I was like, yo, this nigga has been dropping an album. At this point, a Jay-Z album was just the norm, right? Because from 96 to 03, he dropped an album every year, which was like unheard of at that time. I mean, of course, now niggas is dropping albums every couple weeks, and the time span is shorter. But back then, artists dropping quality content every year was like unheard of. So, Hove kind of got us used to that. And with this dropping, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't believe it that it was his last album. I was just like, I don't know. I don't think it will be. But then I remember seeing him on TRL. I remember he came out on TRL and they hung up a jersey for him that said S. Doc Carter. Carson Daly like rolls a jersey up, and everybody was like clapping. There was people in the crowd just like emotional about it. And I was like, well, damn, all right, well, this really might be happening. This really might be real. And then he went on 106 and he was talking about it. Like, it was like really like him making his last rounds. And I remember he went on Rap City and he was talking, and he did a booth freestyle with Tigger, and he put a Buy Black shirt over the mic. Just to say like, yeah, this is done or whatever. Like I think he retired that mic after Jay-Z rapped on it. But this was a special era because in a lot of ways it was, the end of Jay-Z as we knew him. And then that same year we were getting like an onslaught of different artists, because like we had Beg for Mercy came out maybe a week before this. And I was like, oh shit, like this is kind of like, out with the old and with the new, so to speak, right? Because you're like, we had the excitement of 50 that whole year. And then leading into, like you said, Kanye coming out in 04, that following February. So it was like, damn, like, all right, I think maybe we'll be good. And, if this is his last shit.
I thought Papoose was going to save us.
Wow. See, I never even thought that. I didn't think that. I mean, I was
heavy in the Pap's mixtape.
I like Pap too, but I never even gave him that kind of.
I was in the dog space, man.
But a lot of people, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because it just reminded me that when Hove was leaving, there was kind of like this air of like, yo, who's next up? Who's next up? And a lot of people looked to Fab at this time, if you remember, right? People looked to Fab and was like, yo, yeah, it's your time. And then I think Fab signed to Def Jam.
They did a trade.
Yeah.
So they traded Music Soul Child and Fabulous. So Music Soul Child went to Elektra Records and Fabulous came to Def Jam. I didn't even know you could do that. I was like, you mean like in the NBA? Like, I was shocked. Like, they did a swap.
That shit like that's still happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel
Like
like
that
something
was
like that
that
happened
was
with Atlantic
yo,
recently.
bro, that was mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like I like mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I read the Source Double XL and Vibe magazine, like every music magazine, like religiously. Like this was, before like I understood how to use the internet and chat rooms and stuff like that. So I was just reading magazines and getting all my information nonstop from magazines. So when I read that, I just couldn't fathom. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, are they like do they have stats like NBA player? Like how do you trade a artist?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it just, swap contracts.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think when you look at everyone that ended up producing the album, it wasn't that far off. I mean, you
It
named Dre.
wasn't
You
okay,
said Dre
yeah.
didn't make
So
it.
right, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
there were supposed to be 12 producers. We wound up getting 14. So we wound up. We kept Just Blaze. We kept Kanye. The Neptunes made it. Timbaland made it. Rick Rubin made it. DJ Quick made it. Eminem made it. The new ads to the album were Ninth Wonder, W Cannons, and Aqua.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other thing is that Just Blaze wound up being credited on 4 tracks.
Yeah.
Kanye and the Neptunes did 2, and everybody else got 1. So that was like also like a thing because like Just Blaze, because mind you, remember in the Fade to Black, Jay-Z was on Just Blaze ass the whole film.
Yeah.
Because like there was this funny internet rumor that Just Blaze basically makes beats so he can like fund his video game addiction.
Oh yeah.
And everyone was saying that he was like this really like lazy, talented producer that basically he just makes like these amazing beats so that he can like basically buy old Ataris and beat the games and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny like to see Jay on him like that and then to know that he had 4 placements on the project.
Yeah. I think Just Blaze, when it comes down to it, he is one of the greats. But I always feel like I'm not getting enough from him.
You think he's a thief?
Why? Why would I think that?
We're gonna get into that.
All right. Well,
we're gonna get into that.
Okay, I am curious to hear why. But he
does
2
cases that kind of look kind of sus.
All right, we're gonna get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Pinpoint that. He kicks off the interlude for this album, which a lot of people kind of bypass, but I think it's really dope. Did you know that Just Blaze is actually the one talking on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So a cool fun fact about that also, right, is that there's like vocals on there, like there's I think on there's Biggie vocals on the beginning of the intro, right?
Nah, it's all Just Blaze.
It's all Just Blaze. So no, that's on my first song that they got the Biggie one. Yeah, I got it mixed up.
Yeah.
But so for that one, the intro like is just really dope because it's like setting the mood for like what we're about to hear. Because like you're hearing that and it sounds like so another thing is that a lot of the soul samples are set in the 70s. So the way that this opens, it opens like some like 70s shit.
Yeah. It kind of, I love the way that the production.
I feel like a lot of cigarettes was being smoked and like like a lot of cognac was being drank. If I listen to this and think about it, close my eyes and hear it, like I just feel like a lot of Newports is being burned.
Yeah. And yeah, it does set the mood in that way.
It sets the mood like that.
Like Just Blaze comes on the track, he's just talking and like I feel like a lot of people just bypass it because it's just like it's super like low.
Yeah.
So people kind of just really just go into the next song, which I get, but like this is a perfect kickoff to an album. Like Just Blaze,
amazing kickoff.
He switches his voice a little bit, so you can't really tell it's him. But he's just talking. He's like, "Oh, the other night when I was researching what was gonna be discussed today, I came across a passage, wrote down. I think it really exemplifies what the young brother next to me was just talking about." But it goes into this whole analogy of one day leaving a legacy through the seeds that drop to the ground, wind carries these seeds through whatever. Kind of talks to what he sees as coming next for him and leaving something behind to usher in like kind of a new legacy, so to speak. I thought it was really dope. They interviewed Just Blaze about it and he was like, yeah, no, I don't even remember what I said, honestly. But when you listen to it, it fits.
Yeah.
And it sounds introspective. It doesn't take away from it still being dope. But then of course that ushers in December 4th, which is the second song on this album, which Hove kind of has his mom usher in for him.
That was like one of the sweetest things ever, and I thought that was really like dope for him to like bring his mom in. And I think that was another reason I was like, oh, he's leaving. This nigga got his mother on his album. Like it just like something like that. Like most rappers don't cross those worlds. They don't mix those worlds. And the fact that he was doing that, it was just like very like personal to me. like this album, like him doing that and bringing his mom on and like giving his autobiography and like him rapping, just doing that, it was just very personal. And like him, and it's funny because it's like you could tell that his mother always tells stories about him as a child, and he's like, yo, mom, tell him how I learned how to ride a bike before I was 6.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You gotta
like
stunt
that
as a rapper.
Yeah,
you gotta have
like,
your mom stunt.
Yeah, so you just like, yo, mom, yo, tell him how I'm the only kid that ain't give you no pain at birth. You know, shit like that. Like I think that
tell
was
him how I was 10 pounds.
Yes.
But no, it was a great way to really bring in the feel of this album. Him talking about his mom and how his dad met and like made love under the sycamore tree. That whole bar was just so dope.
Yeah.
It was a really clean sample. There's not enough to say about this song. I think it was a perfect way to kind of kick this album off for what we thought would be the last that we hear.
It was amazing. I don't have anything else to say about it. I'll be repeating.
And then shit, what more can I say, right?
Yo, the way he ends this verse was
the way he ended the song.
Yeah, the way the way he ends the song, right? On what more can I say? Like, I'm not a biter, I'm a writer for myself and others. I said big verse, I'm only bigging up my brother, bigging up my borough. I'm big enough to do it. I'm that thorough.
Plus, I know my own flow is foolish.
Yo, like basically giving that verse, and then like at the end, he's like, "We'll see what happens when I no longer exist. Fuck this shit." And then you hear him open the door out the booth.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
and like throw his fucking
throw his headphones and shit. Like I'm just saying, like that right there, like just gets you hyped because you just like, oh, he's fed up with these niggas. Like he's like, don't you understand what I'm doing? Like I just thought that was just fucking impressive, and it's just like you hearing that.
And the key line in this that became Busta Rhymes' villain arc.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
I ain't animated like say a Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like he really wasn't trying to diss Busta. Like Busta is animated. Like that's obvious if you watch his fucking videos.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a slight. It's just like, damn, you about to end your career on this? I can't even battle you, nigga.
Right? Yeah.
So I get that.
So it goes into, and I didn't want to go track for track, but it seemed like we're kind of doing that. But we go into Encore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Encore, my issue with this album is some of the placement. I feel like Encore should have been the first song after the interlude. I think that would have been amazing. It should have been either the first song or the very last song.
I agree. Yeah. It should have, like, it's an encore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, like, I think Encore, in a sense, it could have been the second track that kind of led in.
Mm-hmm.
And then speaking to the title of, like, this being his last album, we can keep it on that level. Or it could have been a last song where it's just like, all right,
man, that was on Hip Hop and NES right there. They dropped the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that just could have been perfect. But either way, Encore is a great song.
Mm-hmm.
The sample is amazing. Only Kanye, man. Only Kanye.
Yeah, I think that like Kanye, he's a visionary, and like when his back is against the wall, and like there was competition there, like he was competing to get placement on that album with other producers, and I think that like he delivered. Because remember, he sent, but like he was like, I forgot what was going. I think he was finishing his album, and he was pissed off that he couldn't get into. He heard that everybody was going to the studio working with Jay at Baseline, and originally he wasn't there when Jay heard the song, and he was like, "I gotta be there." And like he was telling G Robeson and Hip Hop, who were his managers at the time, like, "I gotta be there. I need to explain to him what I need him to do. Like this ain't working. Like I need him to do it." So like he got there, flew there, like and did, and like that's what we see in the in Fade to Black. And like I found that out because like I was reading, like they do write-ups 10 years later, 15 years later, and they said that like Kanye was like demanding. They were like, Kanye, like, you don't have, like, he was like, I need to be there to explain to him what's going on. I can't get it over the phone. I need to be there in person. And like they did that. Yeah. So I just thought that was dope. What they were able to bring out with that song and the emotion. I do think that once we get to the end of it, I do think that placement on this album kind of stopped, kind of getting a little hitch in the giddy up.
Okay. I can agree with that too. And then we get into your favorite song that comes in next, which is Change Clothes.
Worst song on the album. Stupid. Jay-Z was bugging. That was some elitist shit. him making us wear those ugly ass French collar shirts. I can't believe I bought them shits.
Yo,
I'll never forgive Jay for that shit.
I definitely had to I had a Rockaware button up that I loved. It was a Rockaware button up. It was white, blue, and gray. And the collars were big as fuck.
Collars were big
really
as fuck.
big collars, and I had these jeans that went with it, these blue jeans that went with it, and I had this fitted that I used to wear with it together, and these white Uptowns. I look like a fucking fool, but back then, I used to get mad compliments on that fit. It was just what a sick era.
Yo, it was a sick era. It was a sick era. I really thought I was making my grandmother proud. She was like, "I am so happy that you dress up now."
Yeah.
I don't know where those pictures are, but I hope that my mother never develops them. My mom is notorious. My mom had so many, like, she would take pictures of me all the time, but never get them developed. So some of them probably got destroyed. Like, I'll never, like, this picture from, like, my graduation that I'll never see because my mom probably got the mess up because we moved so much when I was younger. But I hope to God that my French button-up shirt era is fucking erased.
This nigga Hove used to wear like 36 waist jeans with a legit
36. Hove was wearing 40s, bro.
Yeah, with a legit long sleeve collar shirt with a vest over it and a tie. That shit was crazy, and a Yankee fitted.
Yeah, and a Yankee fitted, bro. Like, had us out here doing bad.
And I was like, yo, this nigga is cool.
Yeah, we all thought that.
It was Hove. Even at that time, did you have one of them hats with one of those brim hats, brim scullies?
No, I never did that. So I'm, as you know, I'm very particular. I only wear regular scullies. I wear fitteds, and I wear like the Nike dad hats.
Yeah.
But like I'm very like particular about that. So like certain hats getting out of the range of getting a little crazy with the hats, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I would experiment that much with hats.
I had that shit. I had that that brim shit, because it was like, I mean, at that time it was like, well, whatever Hove does, he's kind of the person that ushers in the new style wave. So it was like,
you're
all right,
right.
Well,
I agree with you on that. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, all right, well, this is about to come up. This is about to be a thing.
So, all right, so I'll tell you what the difference was though for me, like with the influence, because like, all right, so Jay-Z was setting the standard, but I was finishing high school in Atlanta, but I would always come back to New York. And like in Harlem, like there were trends that was going on in Harlem that like wasn't like mainstream, but it was those trends in Harlem. So I just wanted to fit in and be like with Harlem niggas. Mm-hmm. So certain trends that Hove did, I didn't follow. I came home with that French button up and got fucking laughed out the fucking building and never wore that shit again. So I learned my lesson with that shit. But yeah, like there was just certain shit that I just like wouldn't do. So like, you know, like I would that's when like I so from that moment on, that's when I discovered like J. Crew.
Okay.
And I started getting like college button-up shirts. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, tone it down. It was like, yo, you could do that, but like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so I started getting like college button-up shirts, and then like wearing like Rockin' Republics, like a Visual and Red Monkey was still like a big deal. Mm-hmm. But like I started like learning about like denim and shit like that. So then like Citizens of Humanity jeans, like things like that. Like those are the jeans I started wearing with my button-up shirts, but I just kept it like very like minimal. I stopped wearing like these over-the-top, ugly things. I didn't get into like the bedazzled belt era and everything. Like that wasn't my shit.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, I didn't do that either. Like, but like I just wanted to make sure niggas at home didn't make fun of me. So I just had to not wear that ugly Jay-Z shirt.
Something that'll just that'll fly. Something that'll fly. Mm-hmm. I feel that. And then, well, change clothes. Honestly, I used to really like the video. I thought the video was cool. It was like this big, like kind of like fashion show type thing.
Yeah, that was dope, man. That was great.
He even put emphasis in the video on like it being his last album. Like he walks in and he's like, "Yeah, tonight we're just gonna have fun." And they're like, "Yeah, this is your last album, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, but we're just gonna have fun tonight." And I was like, "Okay, Hove." And then they had this whole show. He had Naomi Campbell in the video. Of course, Pharrell was there. Yeah. It was a fun video. But yeah, the song, I don't know why he did this as the first official single to like your, you know, I guess as a way to take the pressure off of him, right? Because a lot of people was like, well, as your last album, what's going to be the song that kind of takes it away, right?
I can't believe
the first single.
I can't believe that he really like invested in fucking Change Clothes. That shit sucked.
It wasn't that great.
That shit sucked. I kind of want to skip Dirt Off Your Shoulder because I feel like Dirt Off Your Shoulder is just a song that's like.
Dirt Off Your Shoulder has aged like milk. Back then, when it came out, I really used to like this song. I felt the way he felt when Timbo played it for him on Fade to Black, and he was like, "Yo, what's that?" Because it sounded crazy. But when you listen to it now, the effect just isn't there anymore.
That's how I feel about a lot of Timbaland beats.
It just didn't age very well. It's not. It's not very.
So
it's so commercial. It's just
right. I'll tell you the moment that Third Every Shoulder became corny to me, and I don't know. Some people might not like it. When Barack Obama dusted the dust off his shoulder, that's immediately when that song became corny to me.
What? But Barack is cool.
He is cool, but I like Barack is like my grandfather.
I mean, yeah, I get that. I think so. Barack and his, I guess. Okay, so how do you feel about when Barack does this thing every year where he does a playlist?
I think that's amazing. I think that's dope.
So then, what's the difference?
That's like, what the fuck was that?
That was just a little reference.
That's cool.
But if you think the playlist is cool and you think that's corny, I think
because him like his preference on music isn't corny to me. Him dusting off his shoulder when he walks away, like really doing it, is crazy.
Yeah, he's cheesy.
That was cheesy.
He has a little dad humor that people like.
That wasn't. I like dad humor. That wasn't dad humor. That was staged and it was inauthentic. But I want to talk about Threat.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about Threat because that is a song that kind of like made like Ninth Wonder like solidified in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a little controversial because Jay's concept for the album was doing over R. Kelly's A Woman's Threat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that this song pretty much did the most. Like this song on the Black Album did the most for Ninth Wonder more than anyone on the album, even Jay-Z. I feel like Ninth Wonder, like it made him a made man in the music industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the Minstrel Show was doing really well. A lot of people fucked with Ninth Wonder and Little Brother, and like producers like loved them and like were like surrounding them and like doing a lot to be around them and see what they had going on, what they were cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when he got his placement on the Black Album, he was a made man, and I think that actually Ninth Wonder has like a quote where he said that like he realized that backpackers are the real assholes and not like the rich flashy rappers.
Well, why? Well, I have an idea of why he would say that, but why do you think he said that?
He said that like most backpackers are like angry and like they're conspiracy theorists and they're like mad at the world.
Yeah.
He was like, but like when you meet rappers like a Jay-Z or like a Fabulous, like they just mad, like laid back and like just normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't make everything like some like the world, me against the world against me. Like they're not brooding, they're not always whining about shit.
A lot of backpack rappers come off as snobs.
Yeah.
They come off as snobs, elitists. They feel like they feel like because they can phrase things a certain way, it makes them a little better than a lot of rappers.
Yeah.
And they have these grudges.
Yeah, and they hold grudges and stuff like that. And like he said that, kind of he got, because he worked with Jay, it opened up him into other rooms and stuff like that. Like, like he was able to work with, he got placement on Destiny's Child out on their project. I think for Destiny Fulfilled.
Destiny Fulfilled, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that like he was able to meet these people and be like, oh shit, like you're not a snob, you're not an asshole. And I think like it made him realize like, yo, fuck these backpackers.
Yeah.
But
he probably realized he was limiting himself.
Yeah, but I really like enjoyed this project, and I enjoyed how he was able to chop it up, because like when people think about Jay-Z, they don't think of Jay-Z having the mind of a producer. They think that he just raps, that he just goes in there, but like he already had the concept in his head. He knew how he wanted to do it, and he was just like, yo, can you do this? And put him on the spot. And mind you, like they said that Ninth Wonder came with like 29 songs. Like they said he flew up same day, got there, and Jay was just like, all right, like I'm gonna go out and do something, and left him in the studio at Baseline in the B room. Like just like, yo, do what you do. And then they said Jay came back like because he was prepared, because Guru never left Baseline. So like Guru was like, yo, like don't, like, because Guru was the one who was like pushing for him. So Guru was like, don't worry, like we can stay here, we can order food or whatever like that. And like they didn't expect Hope to come back, and he came back and like heard it and was like, all right, I'm gonna start working on this. I'm gonna take it with me. I just think that that's a really dope story.
Yeah, that is fire. Because he kind of just, he just let him do what he did, even though he had his own concept. And fucking shout out to Cedric the Entertainer for like really tying this song together. I just remember at the time really liking that skit. And I'm a huge Cedric the Entertainer fan. Like he's so slept on, in my opinion, as a comedian. But like hearing him at first and not really knowing who he was and always laughing at his part on this song.
Right, because he changed his voice a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I just didn't know who that was. And I was like, and then I was reading the credits because, we had the booklets and shit back then. And I was like, Cedric the Entertainer. I was like, oh shit, like that's him? And it made me appreciate it more. Like, cause he really tied that track together.
Sorry, that's another funny thing. So Knife Wonder said that like Jay-Z told him like, yeah, and I want Cedric the Entertainer to be on there talking shit. And he was like, oh, so like how we like, like how are you gonna contact him? He was like, he's in the other room playing pool right now. Like he said that Jay-Z kept like pretty much like
just
making shit, making shit like appear.
Yeah.
So what track you want to get to next?
So so that takes us, of course, into Moment of Clarity, which was, I think this was part of Eminem's defining moment as a producer. A lot of people do recognize Renegade as being that, but I think this one was like, oh shit, Eminem is really producing and he's learning from Dre, and it's not my favorite beat. It's it's okay.
It was brooding. I like that.
Yeah, it's okay, but like yes, that is a good word for it. It was brooding. I think a track like this in the middle of this album was really important for this album. For him to kind of do callbacks to the rest of his discography and talk about like what he's looking forward to, how he feels about his dad dying, and it was a big moment for this album.
Yeah. Him talking about his dad was like the biggest thing for me because because obviously Where Have You Been is a song that like was like a standout for me from Jay on the Dynasty. And so like him talking about his dad, and then I remember I forgot which magazine it was, but like, he said that like his mother kept pushing for, like his father was sick and his mother kept pushing for them to reconcile because they were in touch. And the one time that Jay, like they were supposed to like have a meetup, he didn't show. And Jay was like, you see, like I wasted my time. And then like he finally did it. And like, so like Jay wanted to make him comfortable. So Jay got an apartment, bought him new stuff and like made him comfortable. And
because
the end of his life. And then, Jay went to the funeral and everything like that. But so to me, like hearing him like give his thoughts on everything like that, I was just like, damn, like, I'm glad like he literally got that closure because it just sucked. Like, and then like him like learning more about it. Like as if Jay-Z's story, like you learned that okay, his uncle was murdered and his father like couldn't deal with that hurt so bad that like he went out to go find the killer of his baby brother. So it was like, Jay as a man, as he grew up, he realized like, oh shit, my pop, it wasn't that my pops didn't fuck with me. It was like, yo, if somebody killed my brother, I'd probably go looking for that nigga too. And
that like, took some growth on his part to actually think about shit like that.
Because you got to think he wasn't thinking about outside of himself, and like it's fucked up that like he left his children, but like it's just like what I'm saying, like his like I guess he was like, yo, that's my brother, like I love my brother, that's my mother's son, so I guess for me, like knowing that, and like as you guys see, like I'm a Jay-Z historian, baby, just knowing that and hearing the song was just like touching. Like like some people say that like Jay-Z doesn't like let people in or like give much insight into his life, and he actually does. He actually tells us a lot of his business. Yeah. And I don't think people really take that.
It's just that he doesn't do it in a formal interview type way. You gotta like really listen to his records to kind of unpack the type of person and his history. What you call it? Truthfully, I want to rhyme like Common Sense, but I did 5 mil. I ain't been rhyming like Common Sense. Now, do you think he really meant that?
Yes.
As far as like his rap skill, you think he just really dialed it down to appeal to the masses?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think that's partially true. I don't think he necessarily. I couldn't see how. I mean, maybe because it's so
I think it's too literal. I don't think that he wants to like wear a kufi and grow a beard and wear like peace sign t-shirts and like shit. He kind of does dress like that a little bit.
It's such a good and even the part after that when your sense got that much in common and you've been hustling since your inception, fuck perception, go with what makes sense. Since I know what I'm up against, us as people, us as rappers must decide what's most important. Like it was like he really, he's like, yo, this is why I'm selling out.
Yeah, like, but I guess for me, like, but look at that bar right there. I think it's a lot of things that like Jay-Z. I think it's a lot of conflict for Jay-Z, right? Because I think that for him, like he's like a constant seeker of knowledge, and like he's constantly like learning. He reads a lot of books. He's an avid reader, so obviously like he's a person that like has like a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to say. He loves conversation. He has like most people that have like dark, dry senses of humor, kind of like are like more so like like people that question things and like have conversations. And I think it's a lot of shit that he wants to like rhyme about, but he's like, yo, like I gotta.
That's not gonna make no money.
That's not gonna make me no money right now. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he knows, like, as most rappers know that they have to dial shit down. Like Lupe Fiasco talks about that. He was like, "Yo, the shit that I really be wanting to rap about, like the metaphors and talking around shit, I can't do because you won't even get it." And I think that's why somebody like Immortal Technique, right? Like Immortal Technique, like there's people that like know like he can like wrap circles around with the best of them, but nobody want to hear that shit.
Yeah. I think and I think. That has a lot to do with us as consumers too, right? Because if we really ate that type of content up, then rap will be a lot different. Like they would actually cater their styles to be in that type of content. Even that verse he unpacks a lot because he says like, "Oh, I can't help the poor if I'm one of them, so I got rich and gave back. To me, that's the win-win."
Yeah. Jay-Z will never be able to do enough in a lot of people's eyes. There's some like he has like the Sean Carter Foundation. He's done things with like through his mother's foundation. He has the Marcy Gives Back Foundation. He has like multiple foundations, donates money. Whenever there's like a large crisis involved, like he donates money and everything. He donated money to Columbine before it was like cool for rappers to do that. 9/11, like there's things that he does for like 9/11. And like people just look at it and they just like, you have a money bank like your Scrooge McDuck that you dive into every day and you need to give away more money. And it's just like, shit. Like he just like he'll never like I just feel like he just always just gonna have his back up against the wall where like people just think he's not doing enough or he's flashing too much or why does he need that much money? It's just always like he's a capitalist. Like that's just the truth of it. And like people don't like capitalists until they become one. Like there are some people who will give the money back and like donate like most of their money and things like that. There definitely are. But like majority of people that are presented with the things that are in their shoes, they'll probably be a worse person than Jay-Z is.
Yeah, I get that. So Moment of Clarity, which is a very important moment in the album, takes us into 99 Problems, which was produced by Regg Rubin. Departure for Hove's sound up until this point, right? Super different.
Did Collision Course come out before or after this?
After.
It came out, okay. So this was the predecessor to Collision Course. Okay. I think it's pretty cool that the evolution of what Regg Rubin was doing, because Regg Rubin was like he was more into punk rock than he was into hip hop when he joined forces with Russell Simmons. It's just that back in the 80s, punk rock and hip hop were just like they were like cousins, because they were both underground and they were both like anti-establishment on the scene and everything like that, right? So Regg Rubin pairs up Run DMC with Aerosmith. We get Walk This Way. You know, he basically takes the Beastie Boys, stops them from being a punk rock band to being like a hip hop group, and they become one of the best selling hip hop groups ever. Like they put out Hello Nasty, and that shit did like 10 million records, right? That was like one of the first rap acts to even like do something like that at the time. And I just think that him doing 99 Problems, like that was just like a full circle moment for Regg Rubin. And I think that is really cool because, you know, a lot of people think that like, all right, Regg Rubin parted ways with Russell Simmons and that was it. But like he actually like went on to like work with like legendary rock bands, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Johnny Cash, like, you know, like he's like won Grammys and like he's helped so many like artists in the music industry, like, you know, come up with great sounding albums. And then him to go to Jay, right? And then we have our friend Chris Rock make the suggestion like, yo, I see you got a song called 99 Problems. You should remake that shit. He goes Regg Rubin with it, and they actually like make that shit work. I just thought, like, and then like I think my highlight of the Black Album is watching Jay-Z craft that entire album, that entire song, at his crib. I thought that was really dope because it was like Jay-Z was paying homage to like so many different people at that time. Like you could say that he was paying homage to Slick Rick with him like basically playing multiple characters in the song.
It even sounds like a Slick Rick voice.
Right, yeah, right. So like he did that and like it's impressive because like Regg Rubin's like talking to MCA from the Beastie Boys and he's like, yo, he does it right. He's like, yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Like they're like fascinated by that shit. Yeah. And like he's sitting there and like Jay's like, all right, play my track back so I can talk to myself and record it. And I just thought that was just like dope. to like see that and like see the recording process and see how much like effort Jay-Z puts into it and like how much hard work he puts into like doing like his craft. I just thought that was dope. And like him even like doing takes over and like humbling himself. You know, I just thought that like all of that stuff was just really cool.
Yeah.
And like him doing it with Rick Rubin, I thought was like dope.
I think it was a great departure in this album. It kind of just it lands dead smack after and there's no way to kind of like lead into this song without it sounding like a little off in the album, but it more than makes up for it. It's a solid song. And I'm really back then I didn't know how I felt about it because I was like, yo, this shit just lands out of nowhere. Like after Moment of Clarity, it just comes on and it just blasts. Like it's just like, oh shit, like it just takes you.
Yeah, man, it's placement.
But it's a great song. And then of course, you know, things kind of calm back down to a level field with a PSA, public service announcement interlude. Some would say one of the best rap interludes that there is Just Blaze's masterpiece in his discography. He plays and he lets us know it. That nigga plays it in every set that he has.
We got a lot to talk about.
So I guess this is your point where you're about to get to where you talk about Just.
Okay, number one, PSA made that like they had to stop the printing of the album because he got PSA to Jay-Z in the 11th hour. He was like, yo, Jay, I got this beat, I need you rapping. Jay was like, the CDs are already getting like made, and he was like, you got to stop it. So he got it, and he did so good on it. He was just like, yo, like Jay was like, this is an end. Like I put this on the deluxe, and Just was like, no, this has to make the album. So he got it on there, and you know everything was all good. So there's a rap group called Black Moon. Black Moon has a song that pretty much uses the same exact sample, and it came out 2 weeks before the Black album. And they say that and it's on their album called Total Eclipse. The sample is Seed of Love. The sample and the song is by the Little Boy Blues. So they say that Just Blaze was in their studio and heard them use that sample. And Just Blaze, that's where he got the idea from the crafter. Just Blaze says that's not true. It's just a coincidence. Like, you know, I wasn't thinking about you guys. But like, pretty much that was their lead single. So obviously Jay-Z, the bigger artist, put it out and like so nobody talks about them. Like and Black Sheep, like they're like a legendary underground rap group. But like this was like I think they had like this was their comeback album. So like they don't have any beef with Hov because obviously Hov wouldn't know. He wasn't in that session. But the fact that like Just Blaze, they feel like the fact that Just Blaze did that, you know, just adds on to the argument that like Bank has like that like, you know, the only reason why Just Blaze gets the placement he did is because he signed with Hip Hop's in 1978. Bank didn't. So that's the difference. And that's why Just Blaze got the push and the placement and got the relationship with Rockefeller. And a lot of people say that. Like there's some people that say that like, you know, that Just Blaze will like have sessions with some young producers and take their ideas and make it his. And that's why like, you know, people like the Heat Makers and Bank don't fuck with him. Black Moon absolutely hates Just Blaze.
Yeah. I mean, well shit, if they feel that way about him stealing their content, then of course they hate that name.
Yeah, I saw it and I was just like, because you know, I always saw the Bank interviews, right? And like I never thought about it before. But then when I saw this, I was like, hold on, there's a pattern here. What is going on?
Yeah.
You know, so
well, I mean that sucks, but it doesn't take away from how amazing this song is.
Yeah, it's great.
Unfortunately, it's just a great song. I think a lot of the momentum is in that beat build up. It's in the way that his verse comes on. The second verse isn't as strong as the first verse, but overall it's a classic song.
Yeah, I think that is amazing, and I think that he opens like almost every show with that.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah.
It's a staple. You know, Justify My Thug comes after this, and to be honest,
it fell flat.
It does.
Justify My Thug is crazy because it's like, you know, it's a play off of Justify My Love from Madonna.
Yeah.
There's Run DMC samples on there. Lenny Kravitz works on the song. And I want to like this song so bad.
Yeah,
like,
it's produced by DJ Quick.
Yeah, I want to like it, but I just know that it's not good.
It's not very good. Hov got some bars in there, but nah. Yeah. It's not that beat just isn't my shit. Like it's not. But then, you know, Lucifer is after this.
Yes.
Lucifer is fucking fire.
Lucifer is an amazing song.
Lucifer is like That is it's a whole B side.
I love Lucifer.
It's a whole B side. Yeah, Lucifer is incredible.
Amazing.
Even just seeing, even you mentioned Fade to Black, even seeing Kanye making this beat was great. Seeing what he contributed to it, because Hove kind of uses the bridge that Kanye did for this song.
Mm-hmm.
He ultimately used it, and he put that in the song.
Kanye gave like a reference to like what he wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And the thing that you don't know. All right, so what's funny is that like me hearing the song, knowing it was about Bob Marley sample, right? I was young at this time, and I didn't know that Biggs and hip hop had another brother named Babalab. Mm-hmm. My mom knew Babalab, but I didn't know Babalab. Mm-hmm. So we were listening to it, and like my mom like started like tearing up, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "That verse is for Bob," and I was like, "Oh yeah, Bob Marley," and she was like, "No." She was like, Babalab was like down with Rockefeller and them, and he got murdered, and like nobody, like it's like an unsolved murder. Nobody knows why the dude shot and killed him. Bob didn't have no beef with anybody. Like it was just like some random shit. Until this day, they don't know who killed him. And actually, it's really fun. There's another funny story. I'll tell you that off camera though. But it's like they never found the killer, right? So with that being said. Jay, like I just was like floored at that was his verse in dedication to Bob Lob, his good friend Biggs Burke and hip hop's older brother. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, damn, like, you know, like the way to like wrap that up. And all this time before that I thought it was in dedication to Bob Marley.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, shit, I didn't know that about that.
Yeah, so that verse is for Bob Lob. It was like a senseless murder. And he was like down with, you know, like Dame Dash and all of them, they crew, and like it was like a big deal in Harlem because like Bob was like beloved, senseless murder, no reason for it, just killed. Mm-hmm.
And then, man, the way this album just ends, like it's just a ride into the sunset at this point.
Yeah,
because then it's followed by Lucifer's followed by Allure, which is produced by the Neptunes, and this is one of my favorite Jay-Z songs ever.
It's one of the best Jay-Z songs ever made. And it literally is the perfect. I don't know how the fuck nobody thought to get pain in the ass on this song.
I think he was supposed to be on this album.
Yeah, I don't know how it didn't happen. And didn't remember like we were getting like teasers that he was going to be on 444.
444. Yeah, he was recording something. Yeah, he recorded something,
and I think he did. I think they just didn't use it. Like they went another route. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and it's funny because like this was like Pharrell and Chad. Because I forgot we got to stop only saying Pharrell. Pharrell and Chad's redemption for Change Clothes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, this was incredible, and even watching in Fade to Black, how Pharrell's attitude going towards this song, he just knew it was fire. Yeah, he knew that Hov would like it. Mm-hmm. He was like, "Yo, I'm in the studio. I'll see you in a minute." Like,
I need you to get here. And then like he gives Jay the speech, and Jay's like, "That's it." Mm-hmm. Like that's what he was like, "That's it, nigga. Go in the booth.
Go in the booth.
Do your thing."
Yeah. He pitched it to him, and that was one of my favorite things about Fade to Black was just watching how artists would pitch their songs and their ideas to Hov and how he would react to it. Because if he wasn't feeling it, like you knew he wasn't feeling it and he wasn't gonna do it. Yeah. Even when he did Allure and when he did Lucifer, it kind of felt more like it was in service of Kanye because Kanye liked it so much, but it ended up being so good. Yeah. And the same thing with Allure. Like Allure just feels like a fucking it just feels so fucking good. Like when you listen to it, the production is perfect. What he's rapping about is great. Like my brother hustles so naturally. Up next was me. Like that's like, it's just he just kind of the chorus is great.
The verse of him saying, "I never felt more alive than riding in Klein's Green 5."
Yeah.
Now, if you ever had a friend that was a drug dealer and you rode in his really expensive car, knowing that like you're reaping the benefits of your drug dealer friend, but knowing that you didn't have to do any of the drug dealing, and you're riding in his car really fast or her car really fast, it's one of the best feelings in the world. Like, yo, I'm getting to like be a part of this shit, and I ain't had to sell a dime of drugs. This is great. Like, yeah, I just thought that was dope, and you know, I thought that was a really cool story. And it's always cool. It's always funny, right? Because a lot of the hustlers that Jay-Z raps about, and the songs, he don't fuck with them no more. And then they always go to Vlad and give you like a behind the scenes story of like why they fell out or why they still cool or whatever like that. And like the dude Calvin Klein from Brooklyn, like he had it in interviews, and I thought that was really interesting. It's always funny, like in the multiverse of the Jay-Z universe, like finding out like all like the people he used to be friends with or
Yeah,
rappers or
yeah.
people that he references in his songs and stuff like that.
They come
Like,
out. They come out the woodwork,
yo,
man.
bro, it
We
is
we was
cool.
getting the Haven videos like every week.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and it just wouldn't stop. He made
Every week he was dropping something talking about Hove.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the album officially closes off with my first song.
Mhm.
You know, that's the last song. That's the one that's taking us into the sunset. That's the one that gives us the thank yous at the end. That's the one with the Biggie sample
The Biggie.
that you
So
mentioned.
okay, yeah. So the Biggie sample, it was stolen from the archives at MTV. They had VHS tapes of like old Biggie of interviews of like everybody that like was never used, and they used it for Jay-Z. Like so who was the producers are Agua on this one, right? Who was the producer
The producer on Aqua.
So Agua was interning at MTV, and he took all of the VHS tapes home. And when they were crafting it, they knew that it would be like a dope surprise to like have him like talking, and like it would be special to Jay. So they were like, "Yo, it's no way he's not gonna take this shit with Big on it already." So he produced it with Big on there already, so that he can get on there and start rapping.
I see.
It was like he was like, "Yo, I know how we can get on the album."
I'm going somewhere nice where no mosquitoes at.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Jay definitely looked like he was like whenever his family went down south, he was like in hell, like getting bit up by mosquitoes and shit like that. He absolutely gives that off to me. Yeah. I think that this album has like a lot of it just was arranged improperly, but I think that this album has a lot of great songs if it was a final album.
Yeah, absolutely. I think okay, I'll ask you this. Do you think if this was Jay-Z's last album that you would have been satisfied, and how do you feel about the content that he's put out after his quote unquote last album? Like, does it measure up? Do you think he needed to come back?
Yeah, I think that I think Jay-Z absolutely needed to come back. Not because the Black Album wasn't a good enough album to retire off of. I think that he needed to come back just because like it just fills a void, and he showed it's kind of like laying down the blueprint, no pun intended, of showing how a rapper can age in hip hop. Because we made the mistake of like thinking like, yo, hip hop is just now turning 50 years old, and like we didn't know how to like have rappers be old in hip hop and like be able to like move and like make albums of being mature, because people, as people say, hip hop rap is a young person's game. And I think that we needed Jay to do that. And I think that with him continuing to make projects, especially a project like 444, like obviously there's some people that have some beefs with that album. I think that what he did with 444 was really like honest and like cool to like hear. And because it's like he's a full on family man now. So it's just like, excuse me, coming from that perspective, like I thought that was really cool, because a lot of our favorite rappers that age in hip hop, like let's take somebody like LL. The reason why he had a hard time, I think, making projects is because like he doesn't. He makes songs where he gets personal. Like he's had records where he talked about like growing up, like being raised by his grandmother, his mom being on drugs, his stepfather being abusive. He has those songs, right? But like he didn't go like he's still trying to make party records. He's like I could see LL trying to make a drill record or something like that, and like stepping out of his comfort zone and like looking old. Whereas Jay-Z like stays in his lane and he just continues doing what he does. And I think Nas has done it better, but I think that Nas also has figured it out. And I think that it's a good thing. Like if you're a musician, you should be able to be a musician to the day you die. You shouldn't have to be forced to retire. And I'm glad that Jay-Z decided to come out of retirement and just do what he loves and just make music whenever the fuck he feels like it. I'm just happy that the whole stigma of, oh, you can't be a rap, like, yo, bro, I'm getting older. I don't want to hear none of this young shit. I want to hear shit as I get older too. So I'm just glad that he did that and continues to make music. Jay, take your time. Whenever you decide to make music, I'm gonna listen to it, and that's great.
Yeah. So that would actually pivot us into our rating for this album. What's your overall rating for the Black Album?
4 out of 5 waffles. It wasn't a perfect album by any means. You guys know, like I have like really, really high standards for what a classic album can be, and I just think that the Black Album, like it was just like a It was a solid project from Jay-Z. It was solid production, and he just gave us a really solid album, and it just wasn't arranged properly, and that's what stops me from calling it a classic.
I'd agree with that. I think it's not the arrangement of it kind of takes away some of the rating for me, and also some of the songs just haven't aged that well. You got Dirt Off Your Shoulder. I'm okay with never hearing again. Change Clothes. I don't need to hear that again either.
And Justify My Thug.
Justify My Thug. I don't need to hear that. So it's like, there's certain parts on this album that I'm just like, ugh, I just wish this wasn't here. But I think it would have been a well-placed album for him to kind of just ride into the sunset with and not come back. But I do agree with you in the sense that like he needed to come back to kind of show how to age gracefully in rap and to just how to stay in your lane without looking corny. Mm-hmm. Like how to still be up to date without looking corny, I should say.
Yeah.
I would agree with the 4 rating. It's a very pivotal album for him, and I don't think he should regret this time frame, because when he talks about retirement and all of that stuff, I can kind of see how he cringes when he does interviews around like the Kingdom Come time frame.
Yeah.
When he would talk about Black Album, he would cringe because he's back, and I don't think it was his intention to come back. But when you love the game, you love the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
I also have one last thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the rollout for this album was the greatest rollout of all time for an album.
Really?
I think it was better than Get Rich or Die Trying and College Dropout.
Well, why is that?
Because it was his last album. It was emotional. Like, it had an emotional tie. We thought this was it. Like, literally, he was going places, and like he was getting a retirement tour, like how Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did when he retired, or like Kobe did when he retired. Mm-hmm. Like the way he was getting treated was like how like athletes get treated when they retire from their respective sport. Mm-hmm. Like, it was national news. Like, it wasn't like something like where you like turn on Channel 7, like 50 Cent, he was shot 9 times.
Yeah.
Like, no, it was rapper Jay-Z is putting a cap on his glorious career.
Yeah.
Like, he just sold out Madison Square Garden, mind you, before Nas.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talking about Nas selling out the Garden. Like, Jay-Z did that like for a week straight. But I'm sorry, that was a Jay-Z fan of me. Sorry about that. So peace with Nas. But I just wanted to just make that point. Like, if you think about album rollouts, right? Like, I get it. Like, there's like stories and things that like go along with it. But like the album rollout for this album, there'll be no better album rollout.
It wasn't
unless Drake retires officially and makes a retirement album.
Like actually
Drake. I think Drake could top it.
Drake don't
lean Drake gonna go on Ellen and dance. Oh, I forgot Ellen's retired now. Yeah. She don't got a show no more.
Drake don't lean into his legacy enough. Like, I think he needs to. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with him just keeping up with the times and like working with a lot of younger rappers.
He does that. He does that to continue looking young,
to stay relevant and look young. Yes, but I think he needs to start embracing this OG thing. That's like, it's on his back, man. He needs to just embrace it.
It's coming.
It is coming. He's up there. Yeah. He's getting up there, as Yachty would say. Yeah.
I'm sorry I extended his closing too, but it just popped in my head like, oh shit, I got to make my grand statement.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is, and I think the Black Album, all in all, from everything that we got from it with Hov, his development as an MC, he don't even rap like this anymore. It's kind of switched. It's a lot of woke raps now though, but. Mm-hmm. That's neither here nor there. I do say it's still a great, solid project. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
We out of here.
Catch you next time. Dun dun.